everyone. In this video, I'll be sharing my 1 week progress of learning and practicing Roman Kim's Eine, Kleine Nachtmusik, and I'll be including some of the practice tips that I learned while practicing. This is a very difficult piece for sure, but it's not impossible. He wrote it in a very violinistic way, obviously. He understands how violin works to such a level that it's actually not that uncomfortable to play. And I have to say it's slightly easier than his Beethoven 5th Symphony. So it is definitely possible. It's just very different from other traditional virtuosic pieces. Now I sight read the notes last Wednesday. I hope that was a fun video for you to watch. And then I recorded my run-through attempt on Monday this week. I did like 9 or 10 takes. It was all very disastrous. I had to pick just one of the better ones. Even though I couldn't play through them smoothly yet, I can see that with time it is definitely possible to play this piece. However, I noticed most of my attempts are 6 minutes long, and Roman Kim did this in 4 minutes. It's insane. It's how he manages to play everything in 4 minutes is simply insane. But I think with time and patient practice, it's definitely possible. Now, if you would like to skip my run-through attempt and go straight to the practice tips, I'll put the timestamp here. Also, if you found the video helpful and interesting, please consider liking and subscribing. Anyway, here we go. So yeah, there's still a lot to work on: intonation, precision, timing, sound, basically everything. But I think for 1 week, I got the overall picture in my head. I just need to polish everything in time slowly. This piece is written in sonata form. There is exposition, development, and recap. Now, the main difficulty of this entire piece is probably the really awkward left hand pits. Other than that, everything else, from the chords, double stops, they're not the most outrageously difficult techniques. If you are able to play Bach's fugues, some Paganini caprices, or even Ernst's Erlkönig, then the chords in this piece will not be too much of a problem. Now, my best tip for practicing these left hand pits is to learn to play the left hand pits as relaxed as possible, because once there is tension in your left hand, intonation will get affected, the pits become softer. So if you're able to hold the chord relaxed, then it will come out a lot clearer, and you will actually not sacrifice speed. For example, this is actually a very awkward pit because I have to put down 3 and 3, 1 on G string, hits this while playing the bow. But what I found was that the more I squeeze my left hand, the more difficult it is to actually play this chord. So I started experimenting to let go of the tension, and there is this little sweet spot of pressure under your finger. You just need to find it, where the pitch sounds good and the notes don't get affected. Keep your left hand as relaxed as possible. I know it's very counterintuitive because it's so difficult, but sometimes the more difficult something is, the more you have to learn to relax. Then it will actually work much better. And the reason why I learned this entire piece so quick was actually thanks to bar 28 till bar 42. Throughout the week, I actually didn't practice everything else that much. I probably spent 7 or 8 hours a few days straight just practicing bar 28 to bar 42. For me, this was the most difficult part of the entire piece. And in my mind, my theory was, if I can play through bar 28 to bar 42, then everything else shouldn't be too much of a challenge, because they are along the same idea. The technique is along the same idea. So if I can learn to relax my hand while playing the most difficult part, then everywhere else in the piece will become slightly easier, is my theory. So all I did this whole week was actually just learning 28 to 42. I barely touched or practiced other parts. So actually during the run-through attempt, I'm basically sight reading the rest of the piece. Obviously, I try to play them a little bit, but I didn't practice them nearly as much as bar 28 to 42. It's a weird thing to explain. It's like this bar 28 to 42 was like the key to unlocking this whole piece. Obviously, I didn't play well at all, yeah, but I feel like I can now because of bar 28 to 42. So try it for yourself. I may be wrong, but it worked for me. mention so much about this bar 28 to 42 is because the left hand pitch is so concentrated in just these few bars that if you learn to relax your hand while playing this, you can apply it to the rest of the piece. For example, 1, 2, 3. There is a total of 5 pitches, one after another, and the hardest one of them all is in bar 29. This with a C sharp on G string, where I have to extend my second finger higher than my third finger. I can't tell you how many hours I just repeated this chord, and I still can't play it super clean, but I feel like I'm getting there. So this is how I practice this transition. I put down 1 and 3 first, then reach for the second finger. I still need to tune it, but this is how I practiced it. Now that's only 2 bars. In bar 30, it continues. So within 4 bars, there is like a total of 8 pitches in the left hand, and they are all extremely difficult. But through practicing this over and over again, the rest of the left hand pitches in the piece doesn't feel as daunting anymore, and it just opened up the door. Now in the book, in bar 30, it's marked 2 pits with third finger, but my third finger is really weak for this thumb note, so I decided to use second finger. The next big challenge is probably in bar 36 and bar 38, where there is these 2 notes on A and E string, and I have to pit index finger A on G string with the pinky. At the beginning, I thought this chord is simply impossible. My fingers are not long enough. Roman Kim must have freakishly long fingers to play this. But I remember telling my students for pinky, if they feel the pinky is not long enough, instead of stretching harder, bring in the elbow, then your pinky can actually reach way further than you think. So I listened to my own advice and tried it again. So I brought in my elbow, and it worked. So how it goes is, bring in elbow, find the chord first, bring in the elbow, there is still a slight delay because I'm not used to doing it yet. It's a lot to think about while playing, especially with all the double stop moving, but with repetition and muscle memory, I think I can cut down the delay to a reasonable amount of time. So whenever you feel like you cannot reach the pits with your pinky or any other finger, consider changing the posture of your left hand to find a comfortable position. It has to be comfortable first of all, never force. If you have to force it, then you risk injury. So be careful when you practice this piece. Now, the next really difficult left hand pitch section is probably bar 54, where you have to reach with the thumb to C natural and A minor chord on the other 3 fingers, and you have to pitch this. And there's a trill afterwards. It's crazy. I always prepare my thumb 2 chords before, already ready to play with the thumb. Then in recapitulation, bar 93 onwards is the mirror image of 28 to 42, but it's slightly easier. So for left hand picks, keep your left hand as relaxed as possible. Find a comfortable position so that you don't get injured. And I would repeat each pitch until you feel comfortable. Now, other than the left hand picks, the other difficult stuff I think will be the string crossing chords. For these string crossing chords, my best advice would be play in the lower half of the bow, because string crossing with your fingers and wrist is much easier than string crossing at the upper half, or even in the middle. It's really hard on the middle because the angle is too big. So I would suggest just staying in the frog. And for this particular bar 6 and bar 8, I try my best to keep my palm close to the neck because all the changes. Because of the stretch also, I try to keep my palm close to the neck so that I can cover the chords. Now, to bring out the melody line at the top, I myself often make the mistake of playing too harsh on the E string. So all my chords sounds like this, like very harsh on the down bow. And I think to get a better sound, like Roman Kim did, I need to relax more on each chord. I'm still working on it, and I haven't really gotten the hang of it yet, but it's something that I actively try to work on. So other than those 2 big things, the left hand picks and the string crossing chords, everything else, the double stops, are actually pretty comfortable to play. They're not something too crazy. They feel very much like chords from a fugue of Bach. And this whole piece feels like if Bach, Ernst, and Paganini had a baby, this is what you get. Obviously, other than the physical, technical challenges, there is the musical challenge of playing it elegantly and also musically. This is something that I will have to work on for a long time before I can get it to a performance level. But in a purely technical point of view, I think this is how I would tackle the techniques involved in this piece. And if you would like to try this piece for yourself, I really suggest getting his book, because the fingerings suggested makes it a lot easier. Well, okay, not easier, but very much more manageable. So yeah, in conclusion, if you want to practice and play the left hand picks, try your best to find a comfortable and relaxed position first. Do it slowly, repeat it enough times, and practice the transition between the chords. And over time, if you stitch each movement together, you'll get an entire bar. And over time, you'll get 2 bars, 4 bars. And then later on, you will have a section. And when you stitch sections together, you get an entire piece. I hope that was helpful, and have fun practicing. I'll include it in.
No, don't you dare. I'll divorce you if you do that. Don't you dare.